Hey, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. Great morning, great morning, great morning. Listen, I want to know who's here, and where are you tuning in from? Let me know who's here and where you're tuning in from. You guys, this word is going to be one um, that will bless your soul. So I want you to come on in, come on in, come on in, you guys. I got something to share with you. Hey, 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 everybody. Great morning, great morning, great morning. So good to see you guys. So, listen, today I want to talk about the strength to go forward and endure. There are times in your life where you need to go forward. You know that it's a necessity, but you struggle with actually moving forward. You struggle with actually making those moves because of things that have happened in the past. And those things that have happened in the past happened and they affected you, but you're struggling with just moving forward. Now, if that's ever been you, or if it's ever been anyone I want you to stay tuned to this because this is going to bless you. Why is it going to bless me, Dr. V? Well, let me tell you why it's going to bless you. It's going to bless you because it's going to provide you with not only some information, but some strategies for really moving forward and enduring. See, you can't just move forward. You got to be able to move forward and endure what's coming next, endure the things that you're going to encounter, endure. So I want you guys to know that if that's you, if you find yourself in a place where you're struggling with going forward, listen, I want to speak life into you. I want to give you the strength that you need to go forward, and not just go forward, but go forward and endure. So let me start by telling a story, right? This is a story about a little girl, right? A little girl who was born to a teen mother, a father who was significantly older than her mother, and raised by her grandparents. You guys, let me know that you can hear me. Let me know that you can hear me. Let me see if I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, drop a comment. Okay. Okay, good, good, good. All right. So, this little girl, being raised by her grandparents, suffered a lot of loss all at one time, right? This is what I want you to know. There was someone who represented strength to her, strength to endure, strength to go forward, strength for everything that was necessary. And that was her grandmother. That little girl is me. And today would have been my grandmother's birthday. Now, listen, let me tell you something. This was a woman who had incredible strength, incredible fortitude. She was amazing, absolutely amazing. So let me just share her picture. This is my grandmother. So let me tell you about my grandmother. I called her mama. She was mama to me. But mama epitomized hard work. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate that. Mama epitomized hard work. Her name was Mary Lucille Nurse Duncan. Everybody called her Mercio, right? She was one of the happiest women that I've ever met. She was able to endure whatever went on. She was a peacekeeper. She was the backbone of our family. Um, she challenged us to be better, to be our best. I can remember her telling me, one of her favorite things to tell me was, listen, boys are going to be there after you dead and gone. You go on and get your education. That was one of her favorite things to say to me. Boys are going to be there after you're dead and gone. You go on and get your education. This is the woman that gave me the strength to face difficult times in my life. I knew she always had my back. I knew that she had me. I knew that she supported me. She was there when my parents weren't there. And listen, I love my parents. Don't get me wrong. I love my parents. I believe my parents, did well by me. Okay. When my mom left me with my grandparents, well, really, she didn't have a choice because they were like, you're not taking her. But when she left me there with them, she left me in the best place I could possibly be to become the person that I am today. I'm grateful for her for that. My dad made sure that he was around, that he got me on weekends, that he was a part of my life. And I can't remember a Christmas that I asked for something specifically that I did not get, honestly. I cannot, right? My dad always made sure that if I asked for it, he tried to get it for me. But this woman right here, this is the one. She filled out my college application, my financial aid. She was there for that, really pivotal time in my life. The thing that probably hurts me the most is that she did not get to see me graduate. She never got to see me go off to college, right? So my senior year, I talked the other day about having an abortion my senior year in high school, and literally about about 2 to 3 weeks after I had that abortion, my grandmother died. This woman was my rock. So at 17 years old, I lost the one who was my rock. But then I didn't just lose her. I had made a decision to not have a baby, right? So that was a loss. Then I lost my grandmother. And then about 2 to 3 weeks after she died, my 14-year-old brother drowned, all in my senior year, all right before I graduated, right? If anyone can talk to you about the strength to go forward, it's me, right? I made a conscious decision that I would make her proud. And so throughout my life, when I've had the most difficult times or times that were I was having to make pivotal decisions or I was trying to decide if what I was doing was the right thing or if I was going in the right direction, I would often dream about her. And, she would talk to me in my dreams and she would let me know whatever I needed to know. But this woman right here, this beautiful chocolate woman, was my rock. Now, I know you may be saying, Dr. V, listen, it sounds like your senior year, you had a lot of trauma. I did, right? So let's think about it, okay? I got pregnant. I got a full scholarship to the University of Kentucky. I got pregnant. The baby daddy said, whose is it? I decided to have an abortion. I decided that, you guys, I own that fully, right? Um, but I would never do it again. Just me. That's just me. But I wouldn't legislate it either. Okay. Um, a couple of weeks after that, my grandmother died. And a couple of weeks after that, my 14-year-old brother drowned. That was a lot of loss for a 17-year-old, right? I was 17. I was experiencing all these traumas, but at the same time, something amazing had happened in my life. Now, mind you, all of this is happening right before graduation. I stayed at the house with my aunt. I spent that summer and then I went off to college. You all, I had to make a decision to move forward. And when I made that decision to move forward, I had to endure whatever came with that decision. I'm thankful for my grandmother because, listen, this is what people don't know. People think that marriage is easy, that family is easy. It's not as challenging. And my grandmother, as amazing of a woman as she was, she went through challenges with my grandfather. And I loved my grandfather, you guys. Like, he was my everything. My grandfather, that was daddy. Like, he could do no wrong until I got older and realized he could do some wrong, right? Like, I don't think that's right. Okay. But what I learned from my grandmother was the importance of love and family. She was the rock that maintained our family. And though my grandfather had some other stuff going on, I discovered, right, which shaped a lot of how I viewed men, a lot of how I viewed relationships, a lot of that, right? My grandmother, she stood by him. Now, that also shaped me in some ways because I was like, ain't no man ever gone. And I did all of that. But I respect her. And I got a newfound respect for her as an adult woman. You see, my grandmother understood that she needed to make sure that she was able to go forward, right? And endure, right? Because for her, family was the most important thing, taking care of her family. She loved her husband, she loved her children, she loved her grandchildren, she even loved her great grandchildren. Listen, but she wanted to make sure that she was the person that she needed to be to carry the family. And she provided me with my example of strength to go forward and strength to endure. Now, if you've ever had loss in your life, if you've ever had loss in your life, I want you to drop a one in the comments or a me. Drop a one or a me in the comments and let me know if you've ever experienced loss in your life, a significant loss in your life. Because I want to walk you through something because I promise you, I believe that there's some things that are holding us up from really going forward full steam that need to be addressed. And if you're willing to address it, then you got the opportunity and the potential to overcome it. Yes, Carolyn. Yes, yes. If you've ever experienced loss in your life, drop a me in the comments. Drop a me in the comments. I want to talk to you guys for a minute specifically. Um, yes, Terrence. So listen, this is the thing, and this is what I want you to get. If you've experienced loss in your life, right? You know, we have different reactions to loss. Some of us will address it head on, and some of us will bury it. We'll bury the emotions. We'll go through the emotions, but we'll bury the emotions. My God, that's a word right there. We'll go through the emotions, but we bury the emotions. Okay. So we go through the motions, but we bury the emotions. It means that those emotions end up suppressed. Those emotions end up pressed down in our being, right? And you may wonder why there are times when things happen in your life and you experience this emotion that, you know, seems to be out of congruency or agreement with what just happened. Like it's too big of an emotion for what happened. You know, somebody says something to you and you pop all the way off and you go all the way left. And you're trying to figure out, well, why, you know, did that happen? Because what they said was not that bad. Well, see, what happened was, you know, you had some emotions that had been buried that their comment or their action or whatever triggered, and the previous event, actually, you responding to all of that and not just what happened. So that's why we've got to be careful and we really have to deal with anything. And one of the things that loss triggers, I'm just telling y'all, one of the things that loss triggers, we lose people that we love, particularly that when we lose people that are really significant. Yes, those major losses, those people that are close to us. What will often happen is we won't really deal with how much it hurts. We won't deal with how much it hurts. We go through the motions because we may feel like we've got to be strong for everybody else, or we go through the motions because we're afraid that if we allow our emotions to show that we won't be able to come back, right? Or we'll be perceived as weak. We go through the motions because, you know, we don't really understand grief and grieving and we don't want to deal with it. Now, listen to me. If you do not deal with grief, grief will deal with you. Let me say that again. If you do not deal with grief, grief will deal with you. Matter of fact, let me put this up here. Hold on, y'all. Let me drop this right here. My God, if we don't deal with grief, grief will deal with us. So, if we don't deal with grief, grief will deal with us. Now, you may say, Dr. V, what do you mean when you say that if we don't deal with grief, grief will deal with us? That grief will show up at the most inopportune times, right? Because we never dealt with it. And something will happen, and all of a sudden you'll find yourself with a flood of emotions, a flood of sadness, a flood of overwhelm, and it can lead you to a place of depression, right? Now, you don't want to be depressed, right? You don't want to be depressed, but you find yourself in a place where, you know, you're tipping over into depression, right? You're tipping over in there. Why are you tipping over in there? You didn't deal with the grief. You didn't deal with the grief. It's okay to grieve. You know, when people tell people you need to just get over it, that blows my freaking mind. Just get over it. You suffer a major loss and you tell people to just get over it. Well, no, it's not that you just get over it. You got to go through the stages of grief. You got to go through anger and disappointment, disbelief, like all of it. You got to go through that stuff. You're going to go through the stages, even if you cycle through them. You got to go through it, right? And once you've gone through it, then you can kind of move on, be a little clearer. there's a process called clearing, right? There's a process called clearing where you begin to remove the emotion from events. And so you remove the emotion from the events by going in and visualizing and experiencing the event as if it had just happened, right? You go in, you visualize it as if it had just happened, and you allow yourself to feel all of the emotions that you feel, everything. You let everything come up, right? You remember the smells, the sounds, everything you can about the event. And you keep telling the story over and over and over and over and over until you can tell the story without the flood of emotions, right? That means the emotions have been cleared from it, right? Now, yeah, it's common. It's common. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's common. People say that. Just you get over it. You should be over it by now. By now. Whatever now is, by now, right? Whatever people's definition is of by now. And so when you clear the emotions and you can tell the story without the flood of emotions, then you can move differently with it. It is something that happened to you, but it doesn't evoke the emotions that it previously evoked. Now that's important because it is the emotions that make us cry sometimes. The song, right? It is the emotions that we attach to the events that happen in our lives that often create challenges. I'm so happy and grateful that my grandmother raised me. I'm so happy and grateful that that woman taught me what I know. I'm so happy and grateful that she provided a woman of, she provided an example of what it meant to be a wife, what it meant to be a mother, what it meant to be a grandmother. And I was thinking about this. My granddaughter's coming over this morning, and I'm going to be keeping her. And I was thinking about how much she kind of reminds me of Mama. I hadn't really thought about it till I pulled the picture of Mama up. Brooklyn is my chocolate baby. And anyone who has known me a long time knows that I always wanted to have a chocolate baby. Now I don't know how I was gonna have a chocolate baby because none of my baby daddies chocolate. As much as I love chocolate men, none of my baby daddies were chocolate. Now I don't know how that happened, but Brooklyn is my little chocolate baby. That's my chocolate drop, right? And she reminds me of Mama when I look at her cheeks, and her little chubby face. She just reminds me of Mama. Now, one of the things that I'm real clear about is that my grandmother and her womanhood um, shaped me in some powerful ways, some positive, some negative. I need y'all to understand that. So when I say this, I want you to understand what I'm saying. So I say some positive and I say some negative because I made some decisions about who I was going to be and what I was going to do and what I was not going to do and who I was not going to be based on what I saw the women that I loved in my life go through as a young woman. What I saw them go through, I said, ain't no looker can't really do that to me. Okay? I'm not having it. No, I'm not doing that. I made decisions. I put walls up. I put brick around my heart. I allowed people in but not really in, right? Because I felt like, to allow a man into that intimate space in my life, even after I was married, you guys, I need y'all to understand this. Even in my marriages, like I didn't mm, mm, think, not all the way in my heart, not all the way in because I'd been hurt. And what I had discovered is that people will use your hurt against you, right? They'll use those tender places when they want to harm you. They'll use the tender places. So I listen. I was like, oh, you can't. And it's so funny because I'm trying to think if this is accurate today. The first person that I really allowed in, like in my heart, let my guard all the way down with, the relationship didn't work. He was cheating, which triggered a whole set of other memories, right? Um, but I learned so many lessons from that relationship and I grew. You all, everything in our life is designed to help us grow, to help us become a better version of us, to help us learn how to love unconditionally. And I'm not saying to stay with people when they're cheating on you. I'm not saying, to stay in abusive relationships. I'm not saying any of that, you guys. But what I am saying is this. I'm saying that unless we deal with the emotions that we've experienced that we didn't allow ourselves to fully experience, Like we felt them, but we didn't feel them. We felt them, but we cut them off. We didn't really allow ourselves to process through the emotions, and emotions need to be processed through. There's a whole cognitive mental side that has to happen with our emotions, because we will label things that we experience and we will produce emotion. It's called cognitive labeling theory. And with cognitive labeling theory, it says you experience something and then you put a label on what you experience, and then you produce emotion as a result of the label that you assign to things, right? And so if you assign a certain label to things, then you're going to get a certain emotional reaction. It's going to evoke certain emotions. So you got to decide what you label things, right? We have a role that we can play and we can take control of that. And that's how you begin to develop the strength to go forward and endure, by really processing the emotions that you have not processed, that you didn't allow yourself to process, that you didn't feel like you could process. And I feel like 2020 has been a year where God has had me processing emotions on a deeper level, really getting to the root of some things, and some things that I didn't even realize were the root, right? I remember um, I was talking to an ex. And for me, I've discovered, particularly now, there's some things I got to process from some ex, right? There's some things that I got to process because there are some cycles that have been created in my life, as a result of how I dealt with certain relationships and the impact that certain relationships had on my life. Like I had to go back and look at some things from when I was a child, like when I was really young, and begin to deal with that, on why I felt a certain way, or why I made certain moves or accepted certain things or didn't accept certain things, right? And so I had to begin to process through that, because listen, I promise you, my next major relationship is going to be it for life, right? And so for me, it's important to process all of this stuff that I'm talking about. And you guys may be saying, well, Dr. V, that's fine. Process your stuff. But why are you processing it on Facebook? This is what God told me. God told me that I was going to be an example for people of how to go through certain things, or I was going to have to lay my life out so that people could see how to go through certain things, because a lot of people see me as strong, and I am strong, right? I'm strong. I am independent. I am determined. I am a goal setter. I am a go getter. I am absolutely all of those things. But what happens in our lives is we get really good at certain things, and that's the focal point of our life. Like we tend to focus on those areas of our lives that we dominate and we're really good at. I'm great at like goal setting and getting it done, go get it, business. Like that's me all day long, right? It's my powerhouse. It's my wheelhouse where I'm extremely powerful. I feel good in that space. Now, at the same time, I have had challenges when it comes to relationships, right? And so because that's my area of challenge, like I've got to get that balance is important. So God has begun to really deal with, okay, where are the roots? Let's pull them up, let's look at them, examine them, remove them, and then heal. See, because even after the roots are removed, you got to heal. There's a healing process that must happen. And so as you heal, then you can be ready for something else. And I'm not saying there's a time frame on it. I'm not saying that there's a certain amount of time that has to pass. I'm not saying any of that, but I'm just saying that there has to be a healing that takes place. Now, listen. So when we look at having the strength to go forward and endure, like I'm great at that in certain areas. Certain areas of my life, I'm great at it. See, this is what I contend. I contend that we tend to build our life around the area that we're the strongest, and we let everything else just kind of find its own place, right? It's not healthy though. It's not healthy because our life begins to be so imbalanced that we can't move holistically as a whole person. So we've got to make adjustments. We've got to learn how to get that balance in all of our lives. And when I say balance, I don't mean everything is equal. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is being at a place where you're able to function at your peak in these different areas of your life, where you're moving towards that. Even if you're not there right now today, it's okay, right? But you're moving towards it. Now that you all, that possibility, that knowing that that's going to happen, that like that's my strength to go forward. That's my strength to endure. See, I have this beautiful life that I already see. I see this beautiful life. Listen, you all, I already have it. I already have it. I already have it. It's already established, right? And that gives me the strength to go forward and to endure whatever happens because I know where I'm going. It's like reading the Bible. When you read the Bible and people get all worked up, like everybody was all worked up about the election, I wasn't, because listen, I know what the end of the story is. Regardless of how we get to the end of the story, I know the end of the story. The Word of God gives us the end of the story, right? In the same way, I've created the end of my life, right? What does it look like at the end? You all listen, I promise you, go to the end, right? And then reverse engineer your life. So I've gone to the end and I'm reverse engineering. I know what I want. I know what I want my life to look like relationally. I know what I want my life to look like for my family. I know what I want my life to look like spiritually. I know what I want my life to look like in business. I already see those things. And because I see those things, now I can work backwards, right, in creating them. Well, what do I need to do and who do I need to be in order for that life to be mine, right? Like there's some things where you got to become the person that has that life. You got to become that person. How do I look? How do I walk? How do I dress? How do I talk? How do I experience life? How do I respond to negative things that happen in my life at that point? When I'm there, how do I respond? See, you can't respond to things and show up for where you are in this current season. You've got to get to who do I need to be in the season that I'm going to? Who do I need to be at the end, when all is said and done? When people when I'm laying in the casket, well, I'm not going to be laying in the casket. I'm being cremated. So when my ashes are in the urn and the amazing pictures of me and my life are surrounding the urn, who did I need to be to produce the results that I want people to say? Like, who is that person? And becoming that person. You all, today, I challenge you. I challenge you to face the stuff that you haven't wanted to face. If you need to get therapy, go get therapy. Talk to someone, talk it through. Do what you need to do, but do something. Because doing something will allow you to experience the fullness of the glory of God in your life in ways that you may not have even imagined. And what I will also tell you is when you get the strength to go forward and endure, you will go from glory to glory to glory. And that's what it's all about. That progression from glory to glory to glory. What are you going to need to do? And who are you going to need to become for that to manifest in your life? Today, I celebrate the life of Mary Lucille Nurse Duncan, who was married to Joseph Benjamin Duncan Sr. Yeah, come from a Joseph and a Mary. Just saying. You guys, I know this. Life is too amazing not to maximize it, not to do the work on yourself. And in the words of Iyanla Vanzant, do the work, beloved, do the work. You've got to do the work. And the work, you're so welcome. The work will provide an example for someone else. So I pray that this message has blessed you. I pray that you got something out of it that inspires you, motivates you, and empowers you to move forward. Because that's what it's about. Let's move forward and live our best life always and forever. Love you guys to life and life more abundant. Be blessed. Mwah. Happy birthday, mama.